Hi guys. So for Module 6, Data Collection, I chose to research interviews. Question number 1 asks, how would you describe the data collection technique and what processes and procedures are unique to this technique? So interviews are obviously a qualitative technique in that the data that's given are words, not necessarily numbers. There are very many different types of interviews. You can see there I have structured versus semi-structured versus open-ended versus informal. Structured interviews are those that the interviewer goes in with a set of questions and they ask only those questions. No follow-up questions, no additional questions, just the base questions that they go into the interview with. They all have pros and cons. That one is obviously good for, structured interview is good for consistency because you're asking all of the interviewees the same question and nothing else. However, you don't get any additional information from them. Semi-structured interviews are those where you go in with a base set of questions, but as follow-up questions arise or as other questions arise, you can kind of alter the questioning as you go. Open-ended interviews are where the interviewer goes in with kind of a set of topics and maybe a few very broad questions that they want to make sure that the participant talks about, but there are kind of no rules. The interviewer can ask anything along those lines and any follow-up questions. It's more of a conversation. The final one, an informal interview, are those that you kind of have with your students every day. It's just kind of in passing or with a colleague, something that a question and answer that might go back and forth a little bit with them. So not a set interview, might not be recorded, don't go into set questions, just very informal, but it gave you information that you can use for your research. When conducting the interviews, you can either obviously do one-on-one or individual or a focus group. So one-on-one is obviously one interview, one participant, having that question answer back and forth, where a focus group has about 6 to 10 participants. Then the facilitator or the interviewer kind of gets the conversation going and hopes to start a discussion rather than just question, answer. Both of them have pros and cons. With the focus group, it can be very easy to either get off track or for one person to dominate the conversation or another to be intimidated by the other members and not say anything. So as the facilitator or the interviewer, you have to be mindful of what's going on and making sure that everybody is getting to share and is being open and honest. The two graphics that I have there are from the Practical Guide to Action Research for Literacy Educators, and they just kind of give you techniques on how to get started, whether you're doing an individual or one-on-one, and how to go through that, or a focus group, what you can ask, some tips to do, to use if you are looking to facilitate one of those. Question 2 asks, is it qualitative or quantitative? Which I did already answer. It is qualitative. And then what types of questions would this technique best answer? So interviews are good for really figuring out the thoughts, feelings, and emotions about a study or whatever you are doing. When I think about my research project that I'm doing this semester, I might interview and ask, how students feel about math, how students feel about application problems or higher order thinking problems. And then if I re-interview them at the end, I can, see a difference there. Like, did their moods improve? Did their opinions on math improve? So you can also use it for clarification, to clarify anything that the student has done or said, and for further questioning if you have anything else that you want to ask your participants. What are strengths and weaknesses? The strengths are obviously you get to hear thoughts. It's not just looking at numbers on a paper. You actually get to know your participants and you hear how they're feeling about everything, and you can see if their mood is changing, if that's a variable that you're looking at. people are often more comfortable talking rather than asking them to write or fill in a survey about their feelings. A lot of people, feel more comfortable and open when they're talking, or if you do a focus group, if they're hearing other people are feeling the same way that they are, they might be more likely to share an honest opinion. Some weaknesses, time is a huge one. It takes a lot of time to conduct the interview and then also to analyze it. The Mertler text said that for every 1 hour of interview, it's about 8 to 9 hours to analyze it, which is crazy to think that 1 hour doesn't seem like that much time if you have a lot of people to interview. So definitely time is a huge weakness. Also, people not being honest, not being open can come into play there. As far as validity, reliability, and ethical perspectives, validity and reliability typically deal with quantitative data collection. Interviews don't exactly fall under that umbrella. But ethics, definitely there are some concerns that you have to take into consideration as you're running an interview. Making sure that all of your questions are absolutely related to your study. You don't want to stray outside of what you're supposed to be asking or what you should be asking. Did you stop when the interviewee was ready to stop? You don't want to make anybody ever feel uncomfortable during a study. Also, you need to make sure that you don't coax answers that the interviewer might want. If they want to hear something, but the participant isn't necessarily saying it, you need to kind of be wary of making them say what you want or probing them to say what you want them to say. The Mertler text also talked about email interviews where you have like an email back and forth with someone, and that could cause some issues with buzzwords coming up or emails being flagged, or it's anything that shouldn't be out there or that could alter the ethics in any way. All right, so that was all about interviews. Let me know in the comments if you have any questions. Thanks.